Hi guys, welcome to Snakes and Adders. This is sort of a new mini-series that I'm playing with doing. I've been working with Paul closely, and we are always coming up with ways to try and educate and help people maybe who haven't got a basis in science to try and understand this hobby that we've got. And herpetology is a science, and whilst we aren't scientists, we can still appreciate maybe what they do. Or have done, and that includes taxonomists and naturalists that have spent decades arguing the toss about who belongs where and why, and who's related to who. And it's not always easy to try and fathom out. This other upper section I've struggled with. And then, in fact, these steps that we've got here, so kingdom, phylum, subphylum, superclass, class, order, suborder, infraorder, family, subfamily, genera, species and subspecies, is a simplified version. Jesus. I bet they're fun at a party, don't you? Eh? The people that come up with this. And what makes this even more of a pain is there's now these things called clades as well, which is just a nightmare, really hard to fathom out. And I mean, even this bit took some work to try and get it so that it was simplified to the point where I could make it work without having to do an 18-hour lecture on the way that these things are organised. What's worth saying is that some of these are grouped in pairs or are staggered and don't necessarily occur at the same point. And then if you believe the way that certain proposed clades are set out, aves, for example, is now within Reptilia. Aves are birds. So it's not as simple as that. But when you see it, without going into why they belong there, it just fry people's brains. So it's probably better just not to mention it at all. So I've left them as people would expect, and try to keep it a little bit more simple. Down this end is a bit more my barrow. I know a bit more about what I'm doing down here. And then we can maybe go through some of these other species that are on the various stages, moving back from our bearded dragon, which is the species that we're doing today, back towards the main trunk of animal life. So our kingdom, which is stage 1, is Animalia. Phylum is Chordata, basically a spinal cord from what I can work out. That's probably a vast oversimplification. PhD nuts, don't lose your shit. It's just a very basic introduction. Subphylum, Vertebrata, the vertebrates. Tetrapoda, for the life of me I can't remember what it is, but that is your superclass, and within the superclass of Tetrapoda we have the classes of Amphibia, Aves, Reptilia and Mammalia. I do hope that they're self-explanatory. Probably are, I would think. We've arranged it so this central line flows the way that we're going to follow. So within Reptilia there is Amphisbiina, which is the amphibians, Crocodilia, self-explanatory, Squamata, which is snakes and lizards, Rhynchocephalia, which is the Tuatara, which is one of, so people say anyway, one of the last surviving dinosaurs and not a lizard. And the Testudines, which are the Chelonians, the tortoises basically. So we're going to follow Squamata, snakes and lizards. Squamata means scaled animals. And we're going to follow Sauria. So the other branch, Serpents or Serpentes, self-explanatory there as well, I would hope. And that is your suborder. So we're now at the suborder. This is where things start developing, right? Sauria, lizards. So if we can simplify this, we can almost completely forget about all that, and we can take it from here. Sauria, if you're a saurian, you're a lizard. Tyrannosaur, scary, dreadful, awful lizard. So hydrosaur, water lizard. So there's a few different examples. And this is the suborder of the order Squamata, Sauria. The Infraorder, which is, again, something that traditionally, just to skip back, we'd have had kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genera, species. They were kind of the easy stuff. And if we were back in school, that's potentially what we would have done. But there is so many other different sections now as the scientists fine-tune their knowledge about how they're all related to one another. So within Sauria we have Geckota, geckos, Skinkomorpha, skinks, Iguania, not quite as simple as saying iguanids, there's quite a bit going on in there, and it isn't the iguanids, it's Iguania, which is a separate thing. Diploglossa, which is all of the glass lizards, Sheltopusix, legless lizards, and Varanoidea, which includes other things apart from Varanus, but Varanus are your monitor lizards, etc. And these have got a very weird branch, and actually Varanoidea has got another name that I can't for the life of me remember, but I decided to use Varanoidea because it would trigger people a bit more who keep monitors and maybe understand how they fit into this. So we're following the Infraorder Iguana, and from the Infraorder Iguana we have then got these other branches coming out. Now there are many more than I have listed here, but I've just picked some that are of animals that we potentially know what they are, because I mean this is huge. Like these would be like this, almost growing the whole time. It's insane how much this is, and this is why I've had to simplify it the way I have. So we are wanting to go from the Infraorder Iguana into the family Agamidae, and the other families that are within Iguana are Crotophytidae, which are the collared lizards, Chameleonidae, chameleons, Iguanidae. So these are the iguanas now. Okay, so Iguana does contain Iguanidae, and then Oploridae, which is the Madagascan iguanas. So, or Oplora, Iguana, Agama, Cameleo, and Crotophytus as the main sort of ringleaders and the gaffers within those families. So, Agamidae, and we need to follow Agamidae. And Agamidae then splits again, and we have all of these separate subfamilies within the family Agamidae. Now remember, within Chameleonidae, there'd be another set of lists like this. Crotophytidae, another set of lists like this. So it's just huge. So because we're just focusing on bearded dragons, that's why I've done it this way. Hopefully it makes sense and it's interesting. So within the family Agamidae, there are the subfamilies. There's Agaminae. So they're like the true agamas. So Spider-Man agamas and what they call it, is it Agamastelio and those sorts of things. Draconinae, so Draco Volans, the flying dragons. Amphibolorinae, which is a gobful. I mean, some of these names, what they've been drinking to come up with, I have no idea. They do have meanings. Such as the next one, Hydrosaurinae, water lizards, or water dragons. So, Amphibolorinae is where we want to be. Hydrosaurinae is Hydrosaurus, so Hydrosaurus amboensis, Hydrosaurus. Weberi, which are the sailfin dragons. Laeolepinae, which includes Laeolepidus, which is the butterfly lizards. Laeolepus? Sure it is. And Uromasticinae, Uromastics. The dabtails, mastiguors, and Uromastics, as we call them in common parlance as well. So we're following Amphibolorinae from Agamidae, from Iguana, from Sauria. And we are going into the genera Pagona, which is probably the first time I've said something that you actually recognise, because the Latin name of a bearded dragon, its genus is Pagona, and that'll get mentioned fairly regularly. But all this other gear is going on behind the scenes by the scientists who have sorted it into Pagona, and it's had to go through all of these decision branches to be able to get here. And within Amphibolorinae, there are 18 genera currently recognised, but I kept 5 blown up and then just put 13 more genera here because we kind of recognise these, and these are going to be the closest relations of the bearded dragons that are not other Pagonas. So Chlamydosaurus, they are the frilled dragons. Intelligama used to be in with Physognathus, they are the Australian water dragons. Pagonas themselves, which are the bearded dragons. Moloch, thorny devil, and Physognathus, the Asian water dragons. So most common examples of this is Chlamydosaurus kingi, frilled dragon. Intelagama lazuri, Australian water dragon. Pagona, which we'll get to in a moment. Moloch, I haven't got a clue what the last name on that is. Someone can put that in the comments. Physognathus cocinctus, which is the Chinese water dragon. And they're going to be the ones that we actually see within the hobby. Plus, as I've said, 13 more genera. So just in Amphibolorinae, there are 18 genera. And then within those genera, there are species. We're not even at species yet. Fathom that. From here, right down to here. Just, I mean, it would be 30 foot tall if we had to put them all in at this site. I mean, it would just be ridiculous. So you've just got to try and grasp just how many decision branches have been made. Within Pagona, there are 8 recognised species. Nullarbor, Barbata, Henry Lawsoni, which we know as a Rankin's dragon, Viticeps, Minor, Minima, Microlepidota, and Mitchellii. So, if we had a subspecies, which is the smallest recognised branch of this tree, it would be here. But there are currently no subspecies known for Beardyzold that are recognised. So it is just a binomial name, Pagona viticeps. If we had a subspecies, this would be a triominal name. So let's think. Tiliqua, Gigas, Evanescens, Merauke blue-tongue skink. Genera is Tiliqua, species is Gigas, subspecies is Evanescens. So that's how we would get there. But all we have in Pagona are 8 recognised species, and as far as I'm aware, no recognised subspecies of those. And then at the very bottom of this, we have common name, or vernacular name, inland bearded dragon. The problem that you've got with these common names is, depending on where you are in the world, they could have a different common name. So take a black rat snake, could be a pilot snake, could be a black racer, could be a chicken snake. And depending on what state or who you're talking to, they all mean the same thing. And in actual fact, a common name means nothing. Nothing. The grand sum of nothing. And it's I like to call king rat snakes stinking goddesses. Why? Because it's a cooler name. Is it any more viable as a name than king rat snake? No. Is it any more accurate? Well, no, because its Latin name is Elaphe carinata, which means rough-scaled Elaphe. It doesn't actually mean king, and it certainly doesn't mean stinking goddess. You know, a musk turtle makes sense, Odoratus, but, you know, a king rat snake should be called Elaphe regis. It's not called Elaphe regis, it's called Elaphe carinata, which means keeled Elaphe, or keeled rat snake, or rough-scaled rat snake, such as the rough-scaled python, Morelia carinata. So, I digress. The point being, common names, as much as we use them day to day, don't mean anything. And when we start to consider the scientific names of animals, those poor taxonomists have had to sort of go, right, okay, well, it's a reptile, it's a lizard. What branch of lizard does it fit in? So, does it meet any of the structural or skeletal needs to be in Veranoidea? Has it got legs? Well, it's not in Diploglossa then. Right, iguana, what's its skull like? How's its teeth? Skinkomorpha, has it got these reduced legs? Geckota, does it have soft skin? So all these different, oh, well, now we've got to do this. Agamidae, okay, so we're through to iguana, we're happy with that. Which one of these does it fit into? All right, well, these are the clade that we've put down in Australia and like Southeast Asia. This is Southeast Asia. This is Africa. This is Southeast Asia again. Then, oh, right, okay, so this is America. This is Africa. So at which point you think, oh, Christ, how we get... And just the sheer amount of decisions that they've had to make is mind-boggling. And as much as I beef with them, I wouldn't want their job. Because I mean, I'm just looking at this now, and this is the simplified version. This isn't even like, let's go and talk about this with scientists, because they would just be miles above my head with clade, subclade, this, that, the other. Each one of these may have further integers to split them even more. And like I said, these things might not occur parallel, they might be further down. And then, as I've said, certain clades, if we introduce clades, puts aves within reptilia, which is just weird. There'll be a reason for it that I don't know, and it's not that I can argue against it, I just don't understand it. But, you know, that's what I've sat boggling about, how to even do this or go through this. So, a bearded dragon's absolutely full name which is like, you know, imagine it's one of David Beckham's kids, is Animalia, Chordata, Vertebrata, Tetrapoda, Reptilia, Squamata, Sauria, Iguana, Agamidae, Amphibilorini, Pagona viticeps. But we just know it's Pagona viticeps. And some of you just know it's bearded dragon. You've never even bothered looking that bit up. And yet there's all this work that has had to go into getting it to Pagona viticeps. We ought to maybe just pay a little bit of a doffing of the cap to the graft that's had to go into it to be able to get to this stage. And potentially, such as next time, we might do a royal python or we might do a corn snake. So then suddenly we're going to deviate and we're going to have to go on to serpentes, and then that's going to open up all of the other potentially infraorders or families, whether that be Crotalidae, Elapidae, Viperidae, Colubridae, and then we move on from there, and we have to then pick the subfamilies Colubrini, and it continues, and the same thing will happen. But hopefully you'll see the work and the graft, and each time we're going to get a different, hugely long name. It's not going to vary too much, because generally most of the animals that we keep, if they're snakes or lizards, they're squamates, they're squamata, they're scaled reptiles. It would only deviate if we maybe did tortoises. So we could maybe look at doing a horsefield tortoise. Just thought of that now on the spur, so that we can then follow what goes on with the testudians and how they then split. And then certainly with Varanoidea, that can be a weird one, because they've now introduced subgenera, or are they supergenera? Could be supergenera actually. So, which one's called, I'm sure one's called Daedalus, or something like that, which is a wicked name. And then the other one is Odatria, which is the dwarf monitors. So it's all, blah, blah, blah. I'm sidetracking here, but I want to just, I blurred this up and messed it, and I should have probably been a bit clearer, but hopefully you follow it. You'll understand just how complex it is. And oversimplifying it can actually tie you in knots as well. I've tried my best, however. So we've got all of these animals from here, and the wonderful, popular, gorgeous inland bearded dragon down the end. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll come up with another one. Maybe not straight away, because it does take some headache. I built this yesterday to be able to do it today. It took that long. So we'll get there though. We'll see you again soon. We'll do another video. Hope you enjoyed it. And thanks again for your continued support. And whilst all this is going on with COVID-19, stay safe, stay home, and protect the NHS. Big love, guys. See you later. Peace.